Okay, so what we're actually going to be doing today is talking about mentoring for change. So this is really, really key. It's kind of broadly within the social enterprise setting, but I know that we have different people from different backgrounds. We also have people who are maybe self-employed and working at delivering their own services, maybe service for good, doesn't maybe have a legal entity of being a social enterprise. But I think that's what we're looking at, is how do we as entrepreneurs and enterprise leaders and managers and participants actually look at the benefits of mentoring. We know it's a massive success factor, as I said. So if people such as Richard Branson and Steve Jobs can use it for their businesses, they're only really tiny, they only add a little bit of zeros onto the world economy, but they have recognised the importance of having mentors themselves at whole stages of their business. So I think it's going to be really important that we can kind of tap into this expertise. So mentors who normally have kind of been there and done it a little bit ahead of us, so they've got a broader, more far-reaching understanding of what we may be going through in our own challenges in our own enterprise life cycles at the moment. But it's also about having that sort of trusted, confidential relationship. Has anybody tried having a mentor for themselves previously? Yeah. I have, Carol has, Martin has, Philippa, you've popped your hand up, and Catherine, hello. And Kendra, excellent. Anybody been mentored? Have you been a mentee? So yeah. Carol, Martin again. So, and there's a really interesting relationship there, I think, around what that sort of contract is about being mentored or being the mentor. So perhaps we might touch on that a little bit as well. So Kendra, check in with you. How are things with you? How are things at Expert Impact? And tell us a little bit about Expert Impact and your background.
Thank you so much, Sally. It's so great to see so many people. Everyone at home, nice to see different backgrounds there as well. And I hope today is going to be really helpful for you. If there are any questions that we don't cover at the end, I'll ask Sally to circulate my contact details, and feel free to get in touch if you want to talk about any specifics to your situation and how we might be able to help you. Thank you. So at our end, yes, we're doing well, actually. People have never really needed support more, I think. We've been really excited to be able to open up the Birmingham branch of the Human Lending Library with iSE actually in the second week of lockdown, which was very exciting for us. And Lizzie, we're delighted to be working with you and to see it grow there. We, I think, as everybody has been, have been sort of forced into a corner to really consider how we can adapt to the current climate with everybody being at home, and how we can go on to thrive beyond just, this immediate lockdown situation. Before the lockdown happened, all of our mentoring meetings were taking place in real life. So we would be getting two people in a room together for a power hour to really thrash out a specific business challenge that they had. And now we've taken all of our mentoring sessions online. So they're currently happening on Zoom, and we are in the process of exploring how we might be able to develop a platform to actually roll that out beyond just our sort of 4 locations to other people in the UK and also worldwide who need the support that our mentors can offer them. So before I delve into all of that, I'll just explain a little bit about what our programme is and what we do at Expert Impact, which is the home of, I suppose, the Human Lending Library. It really is what it says on the tin. So we support social entrepreneurs, and instead of lending them books to help them with the challenges that they're facing, we lend them people. So our USP is that the people we have within our library, who we call our experts, are people who have been there and done it themselves as entrepreneurs, and have founded some pretty well-known businesses that I'm sure that lots of you will be familiar with. Things like Pret a Manger, The White Company, Carphone Warehouse, Mumsnet. So people who, as I said, have achieved great success, who have made lots and lots of mistakes themselves along the way, and who also tend to have lots of gatekeepers. because they're constantly, frankly, being asked for money. So what we do is sort of say, look, trust us. We will connect you with people who will blow your socks off with the inspirational stuff that they're doing. And we promise that you won't be asked for money, but you will be able to kind of advise them on whatever the challenges that you come to us with. And we'll match you up according to, you know, what they feel that they are expert in, whether it's marketing, strategic development, sales, HR, governance, you know, a whole host of different things that we can offer advice with. It's a free program that's available to social impact leaders. So as Sally touched on, it's not specific to the legal structure of your company, whether it's a social enterprise, a charity, or just a straight up business. As long as you are able to demonstrate your social impact in a meaningful way, then you can benefit from our services. And you need to be at the stage where you're already at market, you're already able to demonstrate that your work is making an impact, and that you are looking to solve a challenge to help you go on and grow and scale your company. So all of those things, you can come in and meet with one of our experts for free. At the moment, as I said, this in Birmingham, Manchester, London, and actually in New York in the States as well.
Lovely, thank you, Kendra. It's a really good sort of evidence of the pedigree, if you like, of not only expert impact, but the initiative that is the Human Lending Library. Obviously, great that we've got that in Birmingham with Lizzie leading on that. So I guess really, if we sort of crack into the main part of the session, and really that's about the value of mentoring, sort of what it is, how it can help you, particularly in this period where we've got a lot of enforced downtime. That can be quite hard for people to be motivated and to sort of look after their well-being, which is what we touched on with Martin in the previous webinar. And I guess this is really about actually, if we look at it as an opportunity, we've got this time to really work on our enterprises and on our own skill level, and challenge what our thinking is, as we also, I think, probably recognise that we've got to adapt, we've got to change. There's a lot of phrasing around pivot your business at the moment, and possibly there's people thinking, well, what is that? I don't know what that is. How do I do that? And you know, I look after adults with learning disability, kind of thing. So it would be great if you would like to sort of run us through maybe that sort of working on your business, using the time, and how mentoring can really benefit people who are running enterprises at the moment.
Of course. And yes, I agree entirely. You know, I think it'd be easy to be glib and say, oh, this is a great opportunity for everybody, because, you know, stop working and think about how we can reinvent ourselves. And like, frankly, you know, a lot of people are fighting fires and trying to really deliver these much needed services under deeply difficult conditions, you know, where lots of people might be facing, you know, a cliff in terms of the revenue that's being generated by their company. So there's a lot of challenges that everyone's facing. I think Sally's right. In order to be able to thrive, we need to be able to survive. And I think that means changing quite a lot of our services right now. And I think it's really important that we don't sit at home paralyzed with anxiety that we don't know the way to do it. We don't know the right way to do it. And that is somehow a failure on us or on our companies. And I think there is a huge strength in saying, I don't know the answer. You know, I know what needs to happen. I'm just not entirely sure what the best way to address this thing is, or what my different options are. So being able to go to somebody and seeing, I suppose, the power in and harnessing that feeling of vulnerability and asking for help, and seeing it as a strength rather than something that's in any way embarrassing, is huge. And being able to do that and ask somebody and get the time of somebody who has been in your shoes, albeit probably quite a while ago, but they understand what it feels like to be an entrepreneur, all of the pressures that come with that, to be somebody's boss and have lots of people's jobs dependent on you. To be able to say to you, you know, this is what I wish somebody had told me, or I actually did this before when I was in a similar situation, and that was a mistake. I wish I hadn't. And this is what I learned, you know, a few years down the line with the impact of that decision. So being able to talk to somebody who can personally and professionally empathize and see, I guess, offer you some insights on the challenges that you're facing is deeply powerful. And that is something that we see as a big impact from the Human Lending Library. But more broadly, I think, you know, I'm just happy to see lots of you say that you had advisors and mentors. I think we all have them, whether we recognize them as mentors or advisors in a formal capacity or not, they are there. But I think it's really, really important that you value and you trust those people who are close to you and offer you their advice. You can get them through formal channels like the one that we're offering in Human Lending Library, but you can also create them informally. You're all doing it, I'm sure, when you're going to networking, when you're going to events, you're meeting people who you have that chemistry with and who you feel that you can trust, and who has perhaps done something that you admire and you would like to sort of emulate with your business. There's lots of different ways that you can create that relationship with people. I think a lot of the time we always advise people, if you know someone or there's somebody who you really want to get within your inner circle of advisors, there is no harm in sending them a message. You know, I love what you've done with your company, or I love that thing that I saw you do in the news the other day. I have this challenge. I'd love to get your advice and your input. Ultimately, people are all human, and flattery goes a long way in making those approaches to people. So I'd highly recommend everybody try and do that at least a few times. I'd be really interested to know what your hit rate is in terms of responses. I think it's really important to consider how you're asking people to become advisors and hopefully then go on to be longer term mentors. Making it seem easy and something that they would absolutely say yes to is quite important. And that initial approach, rather than saying, I feel deeply lost and I don't know what to do with my business, I want you to tell me. You might not get as good a response as if you were to, say to go to them, I really enjoyed that thing that you did. I've got a challenge. Can I get you a coffee and just pick your brains? That seems like a much easier way to say something to say yes to. And I think it's about building on that initial relationship so that you can then go on to have, that longer term sounding board that I mentioned at the beginning. I think these external conversations that people have with their advisors and their mentors can throw up some really, really helpful constructive challenges to you. We're all very busy, head down, focusing on running our programs as we have designed them, but having those people outside of that day to day to ask you questions on why have you taken that choice in your business model, and have you considered this different revenue stream that you could be generating, or perhaps even different partnerships, is so helpful. And it's actually really difficult to get that perspective when we're so busy in our day-to-day running our businesses.
Absolutely. Do you think it's important, Kendra, that your mentor maybe comes from the same sector, the same area of delivery as your own enterprise? Or do you think that is it more important having that trust and that chemistry between mentor and mentee?
I think that there's value in having folks that are already in your industry sector, but you are the expert on your business, and you are the person who really, especially as a social leader, the social challenge that you are really trying to address, perhaps even more than anybody else. So yes, there's value in somebody from your sector being in that network that you have of advisors and mentors, but there's also a real value in somebody out with the sector who can come at it from a different perspective and perhaps apply models that aren't being used in your specific area of work at the moment. Just that sort of fresh perspective. So I think it's not essential. I think it's probably helpful just to keep up with what's happening and good practice. But I think there is also real value in having folks that are kind of coming at it from a fresh perspective and being able to apply different lessons that they've learned in different industries. But fundamentally, that trust and the relationship and the chemistry is what's going to make it work. If you don't have the chemistry with your advisor or your expert or your mentor, neither of you are going to enjoy the experience. And that's really important, that you feel kind of nourished from it as well.
Thank you. So in terms of how we can actually work with our mentors to really sort of get into, I suppose, the nitty gritty, that a little bit of the process and the kind of challenge, and therefore the turnaround in that critical thinking, and actually beginning to evolve and develop, particularly in these times where we're all having to adapt so much. So maybe you could give us a couple of examples of how you could really work with a mentor, perhaps if you are in that stage of concern about how do I change my business, what areas should I really be working on, and particularly being able to be confident about tackling the uncomfortable areas. Because, so for myself, you know, it would probably be around the finance side of things, and thinking, well, I'll just kind of like try and, you know, push that to, I'll do the bit that I like and that I'm good at, kind of thing. But actually what I really need to be working on is perhaps that finance element, if I were running my own enterprise.
Yeah, and I think, again, coming back to the Human Lending Library, the process that our applicants go through before they're matched with the mentor, there's quite a bit of work around what is the specific issue that you really want to address. And in our situation, you get 1 hour with one of these folks. So if it's, I need to totally redraft my business plan, that's probably not a realistic goal or something that you will be able to achieve in a 1 hour session. But we would then be able to refer you out to other support organisations who can sit down with you on a longer term basis, to kind of work through that process with you. So fundamentally, I think identifying what your challenge is in a very honest way. So like Sally mentioned, if it is around your finances, being upfront about that and just saying, I don't know, I really want to discuss this with you. Perhaps we can work through some of your more practical examples of what you've done in the past, so that you can try to learn those lessons and apply them to your business. But before you do any of the meetings, for both parties to identify what that challenge is, so that you can, at the end of it, look back and think, well, have we been helpful here? Have we addressed it? Have we made any progress on it? You know, that's the way that you'll know, aside from how you feel, because, you know, there is an important emotional side to having advisors and mentors, and you can't really quantify that, so that's a bit more tricky. But on the business challenge, identify what it is you want to address before you start that relationship, and circle back to it and check on a regular basis, are we making progress here? Do we need to bring other people into the conversation to help us to kind of practically implement the stuff that we've been discussing and identified needs to change?
So potentially you may have a few mentors that you...
I absolutely would encourage people to have as many as possible.
A personal aspect of being an entrepreneur or an enterprise leader, that is about your personal development and how you can kind of look to continually improve, lifelong learning, maybe identifying your own skills, but then perhaps other mentors that have particular expertise or specialism in areas, as you say, whether it's HR, if you're trying to manage a workforce for the first time.
Who to hire, how to manage them, when to let people go. You know, these really difficult decisions that both are very personally difficult and challenging for us as leaders of small organisations who are working to a specific social aim, where there's a lot of passion and a lot of personal, probably overcommitment to the work, you know, that can be very challenging when you have to make difficult decisions like that, which I'm sure a lot of people are having to do right now. So yes, I think I would encourage everybody to have as many advisors as you can, really, so that you can get nourishment across all of those different sectors. I think, going back to what I first said, it's okay to ask for help. It's important to recognise that you won't have all of the answers. You're the leader of your organisation. Yes, we're all octopuses. We all have to do everything. We have to do our finances. We have to do HR. We have to do marketing. But it doesn't mean you have to be the best person out there at it. And by asking for support and getting other people's input, it can really speed up, you know, our growth and kind of our ability to overcome the challenges that we're facing.
Okay, thank you. I guess for sort of one of my sort of almost more final questions may also be around that it's not a one-way street, is it? No. It's not, oh, you find this magic mentor and they're just going to turn your enterprise business life around and it's all going to be great. So it has to be an element of reciprocation and learning from the mentor side as well. They often come into contact with businesses and learn about different businesses and their social impacts that is new to them as well. That must be quite energizing.
Absolutely. And you know, it is I don't know if it's right to say it, but I do think your mentors and your advisors are actually tools that you are acquiring for yourself and for your business, which you need to use. So you essentially are managing that relationship. They're offering their time and their advice to you for you to then make the most of it. So it's, really considering how you're phrasing the questions, managing the follow-ups, kind of keeping on them if you're asking them to do things for you. There is an element of managing. I just saw a question pop up about whether you could have too many mentors or advisors, and yes, I think there is a risk that might happen, and as it takes time to manage the relationships, that's something that frankly we all have too little of, and you need to really sort of consider what your longer term goals are and prioritize which of those relationships you're going to be focusing on at the moment. In terms of the Human Lending Library, going back to using that as case study, really, most of our experts are approached to say, oh, wouldn't this be a nice thing for you to do? Lots of your friends and people in your network are doing it. When actually, through the experience, what we're hoping is that they will then be learning about social enterprise and socially impactful business as a sector that they weren't that aware of beforehand, and that they could then be able to either go and implement in their own companies or become more involved with on a practical level. Personally, we've got an example of Harry Specter's, which is a chocolate making social enterprise, which makes the most delicious chocolates. If you haven't tried them, you should. They're available to buy online. But they also provide work experience and jobs for children and people with autism. And they came in to get some advice, I think it was specifically around branding. So they met with somebody called David Taylor, who's the founder of the Brand Gym. Martin, I think a long time ago, you met with David as well. Anyway, David then went on to join Harry Specter as a non-executive board member, and continues to be heavily involved in the organisation because he was so inspired and excited and impressed with what they were doing. So yes, there is the opportunity that they would join you in a more official capacity after meeting with some of them. Yeah. Sally, I don't know have I answered your question there? Was there?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe Martin, if you wanted to unmute yourself. So I know this is a bit of a drop in to you, but you've obviously been a mentor, you said, as well as a mentee. So perhaps a couple of sentences around, your experience on both sides of that fence.
Well, I mean, definitely as a mentee, it's something I wish I'd done earlier. When I started off citizen coaching, I really felt I had to do everything myself and be an expert in everything. Yeah. And I probably a bit of pride got in the way there of asking for help because I wanted to do it by myself. So I've always been a better mentor than a mentee, I think. But actually, when I learned to be a better mentee, I've had the benefit. And as Kendra said, I had the benefit of meeting up with David Taylor when we were looking at my Anger Coach program and looking at branding it and making it a book and really focusing on the important things. And at that time, it really helped me become unstuck because it was such a different thing.
I think that's really interesting. Just that phrase, helped you become unstuck. And I think that's probably one of the key takeaways, isn't it, for the value of mentoring? If you're sort of looking at so many different aspects of your business, especially at the moment with all of the changes that are, we're all having to try and absorb. If you feel that you are a bit stuck, that actually maybe that is the golden nugget of mentoring. It's somebody that can kind of help you break that down and actually help you move forward and feel less stuck and be able to kind of put that jigsaw puzzle together in the right way for what your business, your own needs will be from a business perspective for the years, months ahead.
I think you're right, Sarah. That's absolutely right. And, you can never underestimate the value of just saying things out loud to other people and hearing how they sound. And the more we do that, the more helpful I think it is, because like Martin said, it's the tendency to just keep it all internal, that pride, I can do this, I'll figure it out, and spend hours trying to master something, when actually a simple half an hour to an hour conversation with someone might unlock that block and just give yourself permission to just get on with it, or even, if possible, to delegate it to somebody else to help you in your business.
Okay. Brilliant, thank you very, very much. So just in terms of a time check, we'll probably sort of move into a bit of a question and answer. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'm very happy if everybody wants to kind of unmute themselves at this point. We'll have a little bit of sort of open conversation. I haven't seen any key questions come up within the chat board at the moment, but if you do have a key question, wave at us. But perhaps just for a moment, Lizzie, did you want to, I'll come to you in just a second, Heather. So I wanted to introduce Lizzie really in terms of localised, regionalised support through the Human Lending Library, and being that sort of mentor contact within iSE. So Lizzie, would you like to just sort of give us a heads up on your role within this, and obviously where we are mostly working with people on screen at the moment who are sort of West Midlands based, if they want to get in contact with you, it's sort of how you may be able to help them. And then we'll come back to Heather for your question, if that's okay, please.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Lovely to see some familiar faces and also some new faces. I won't repeat too much of what Kendra has said, because I think she's given a very good insight already into the Human Lending Library and how it works. But I'll tell you a little bit more about what we're doing and how you might be able to get involved with the Human Lending Library. So we're really delighted to be working on this programme, following in the footsteps of London and Manchester and New York. It's really exciting for the West Midlands. We don't think there's anything really for the sector quite like it. And it's a great way for you guys to connect with really high value, successful entrepreneurs and get all the benefits that Kendra has been talking about from developing those relationships. So in order to apply to the Human Lending Library, it's a pretty straightforward process. We have all the information on our website. Perhaps we can circulate the link out, or Sally can pop it in the comments box, just so you have that. You must be running a charity or a social enterprise that creates positive social or environmental impact. So if you are doing those things and you are also past concept stage, so if you have if you're ready to scale or you are considering scaling, then the Human Lending Library is probably for you. It's about a 10-minute application, so we're not taking up too much of your time. We know you're all very busy, and we ask 3 kind of key questions really, so we can understand what you do and how you do it, the impact that you are creating through what you do, and then also any specific questions or the challenges that you have that you would like addressed through this 1-hour mentoring session with an expert. So we ask that you consider those questions predominantly, thinking in particular about what it is you want to get from the session. I think that's really important, that you're quite clear when you go into the relationship what you want out of it, and I think that way you're going to get the most value and it's going to be most worthwhile for you. We can support, sorry, I'm going over.
Right. Don't worry.
Can I just make one point which I realised I forgot to mention earlier, and Lizzie, I'm sorry if you were going to and I'm jumping in, but as well as our regular experts that I was talking about, those who've been there, done that, achieved great things, we've also recently got, since lockdown and the COVID pandemic struck, we've got some crisis experts who are available to everybody to help them with the specific challenges that they're facing, change management, remote working, raising funds in this difficult climate. So do take a look at the website, because there's probably somebody on there who can help you with whatever challenge you're facing right now. But Lizzie, back to you.
Yeah. And all that information is available on the Expert Impact website, which is linked from the iSE website as well. So we urge you to take a look at it. It's not a hard sell, but it's just something, it's a brilliant service, brilliant programme that's there for the sector, and we want as many people to benefit from it as possibly they can. If you could also spread the word, just help, if you know anyone that might find it beneficial, then please do spread the word and get it out there so we can get it to as many people as possible. Because it's just, it's a brilliant opportunity to speak with some fantastic business minds.
Thank you, Lizzie. Heather, are you okay if we pop back to you? You very kindly raised your hand and sort of for a question, either to Kendra or to Lizzie as our sort of localised mentoring lead.
You've answered it, actually. That was my question. I was going to say, how do I apply? So thanks, Lizzie and Kendra. So yeah, my email will be with you probably today. So.
Fabulous. Does anybody else have any other questions or even reflections from the conversation this morning with Kendra? No, we're all good, are we? Yeah. Okay.
As I said at the beginning, if there is anything specific that you want to ask or talk about, please follow up with me. And Sally, please do share my details with everyone.
That's very kind. So what I'm going to do is, if everybody's happy, we'll kind of like begin to come to a close. So I'd love to get a screenshot of everybody that we can just sort of post out to say thank you. So if everybody's kind of, Paul, can you hear me? Or Mariam?
Do you want me to do it, Sally?
Yeah, can you just do a screenshot sort of thing while we're doing a bit wait? If everybody's kind of happy, you can be as enthusiastic as you like. It is Wednesday. It gets better from here on in. Are we good to go? 3, 2, 1. Woo! Fabulous. Thank you very much.